We are talking about Russell Brand and his strange connection to MAGA, to Turning Point, and to Children's Health Defense. Do you get that Children's Health Defense newsletter? This popped up in my email today, and I'm going to tie it all together for you in this video. It's going to be a two-part video because tomorrow I'm going to share with you very detailed signs and symbols that Russell Brand is flashing at his speaking engagements, specifically at Turning Point. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But I wanted to share with you this strange email that said, it's all about you can bid on going for a spear fishing adventure with Russell Brand. Now, what's strange to me about this, well, actually, let me share the email first, and then I'm going to tell you what's strange about it. Take a look at this picture. I'm going to break this down in just a moment. Here's the email. We're thrilled to announce an extraordinary opportunity, one that will help fuel the mission of Children's Health Defense and give one lucky supporter a once-in-a-lifetime experience with Russell Brand. Russell Brand has generously donated an exclusive spearfishing excursion with him as part of the CHD silent auction. Yes, you read that right. The winning bidder will join Russell for an exclusive spearfishing excursion in the emerald shallows of the Florida Panhandle, hunting for snapper, grouper, and lionfish amid vibrant reefs and seagrass beds. Along the way, enjoy Russell's signature mix of humor, mindfulness, and off-grid wisdom, making this a one-of-a-kind experience unlike any other. All right, friends. I did an internet search to see if I could find any information about Russell Brand having a hobby of spearfishing, and I came up with exactly nothing. There are no images, there are no links, there's no reference to Russell Brand ever enjoying spearfishing. So the only conclusion I can draw is that he has never been spearfishing, or he keeps it a very well hidden secret. So am I the only one amused by this idea of spear fishing? Gee, it kind of reminds me of his podcast called Under the Skin. I want to give a shout out to not a podcaster, but a Substacker, Sage Hannah, who first brought this to my attention. Under the Skin, get it? What does that make you think of? Oh, I don't know. Maybe Bob Kennedy wanting you to inject yourself. You're not wearing these trackers. They are injected under your skin. And that's what Bob Kennedy wants. And let's not forget that Bob Kennedy is the former, he was the chairman of Children's Health Defense, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about his adultery in a moment. But take a look here at Russell Brand's podcast cover art, Under the Skin. So we'll take a little look at this logo. And, it's kind of giving me the vibes here, the under the skin and the spearfishing. Is that just me? Or are you getting kind of the vaccine vibes? Or maybe you're getting the digital, under the skin digital tracker vibes? Maybe it's just me. I'm cynical and a conspiracy theorist and all that. Although I did do several videos about Bob and about his desire for every American, that means you, every American within 4 years will be injected with this injectable, trackable device. If you missed those videos, please see them in my digital playlist and also my RFK playlist. So let's take a look at this Russell Brand. I will say that you might want to pray for a little veil of protection here, because we're going to be looking at some very strange things. And this is one of them. So as the song goes, do you see what I see? Oh, speaking of eyes, it's the one-eyed symbolism here. I went ahead and just made some marks on this cover art. So this is his podcast cover art. He's got the all-seeing eye, which of course is occultic, it's Freemason, it's Illuminati, it's Kabbalah, it's all of the occult. They all kind of fall under the same heading and borrow from each other. Here's another little eye over here. Kind of looks like the CBS logo. And then you'll see these triangle or pyramid forms that are here as well. And I circled this because it looks like ZZ if you're looking at it that way. But if you look at it by turning your head, you'll see MM. And of course, the M for masonry. Also MM is a 33. Russell Brand has 33 tattooed on his forearm. And he says it has nothing whatever to do with the occult. I just like that number. And maybe he does. These are just clues, my friends, that we are collecting. This also reminds me of the lightning bolt right here, this ZZ. And of course, that is associated with Lucifer, Luciferians, which is also Freemasonry. And I have a playlist for you on Freemasons if you are interested in that. So we're talking about Russell Brand, one of the grand deceivers of our time, very closely aligned with MAGA, with MAHA, with Turning Point, having spoken at 2 events, at least recently, and also now with Children's Health Defense. So why in the non-spinning world, you ask, would MAGA and MAHA and Turning Point want to be associated with a grand deceiver like Russell Brand? Get it? He's a brand. That's his name. Brand was rebranded in the last couple of years because this so-called comedian turned Christian, after he was criminally charged by British police in 2023 with several counts of rape and sexual assault involving 4 women. Well, I use that word loosely because one of them was a 16-year-old. Yes, not a minor, yes, not quite a child, but a minor nonetheless. So why in the non-spinning world would Children's Health Defense want to be associated with someone, well, I know, innocent until proven guilty? You have to say, it does make strange bedfellows. Can I use that little play on words there? So he entered a plea of not guilty. He is set to face a trial in 2026. That would be June of 2026. Now, he stated on Twitter, he said, I have never engaged in non-consensual activity. You know who that reminds me of? This guy here, Lance Armstrong. He said he never tested positive for drugs, which is true because he knew how to outwit the drug test. But when I heard Russell Brand say that he never engaged in non-consensual activity, you have to read between the lines there, friends. He is not stating that he did not have any activity with these women and child, the teenager who have brought these charges forward. So, it's not exactly a glaring denial by either of these men. I don't know if you remember Lance Armstrong. He was in the Tour de France. And years ago, I had my discernment skills already going. And I remember because somebody I know liked to watch those races. And when Lance Armstrong said, oh, I have never tested positive for drugs, I thought he's guilty. He is guilty because he didn't say, I've never taken them, I don't use them. This is where you're developing your skills to actually listen and see what's being presented. So here, later, after denying the allegations for years, cyclist Lance Armstrong admitted to using the performance-enhancing drugs. He was stripped of his 7 Tour de France gold medals and here he is. He admits to using that. So I just point that out as an example of, we have these people that are presenting themselves one way and they are deceiving you. So, Russell Brand, his brand, was known for being vulgar, obscene, aggressive. I mean, I really can't stand to listen to the man. And I am actually didn't even really want to bring you this information, but many of you are asking for more coverage on Charlie Kirk. And it was so glaringly obvious, all of the hand signals. Can you see what he's doing here? Let me know in a comment if you can see it, aside from hugging the men with tattoos. But he said that he converted to Catholicism a few months after he was criminally charged with these sexual assault criminal charges. Now, the purpose of this Substack is not to debate whether or not Russell Brand has changed his brand and that he is a sincere Catholic. I have no idea what's in his heart and soul. That's between him and God. Here, he's got a picture of himself with Bear Grylls, another Brit. And apparently they're in the River Thames, is how you pronounce that, in London. What I want to do in this video, and my Substack that is going to be coming out, is to just take a look briefly over two videos, to take a look at what Brand is saying, what he is doing, what he is gesturing, and if we can draw a conclusion as to why MAGA and Turning Point and Children's Health Defense are suddenly promoting Russell Brand. I find that kind of like a disconnect. So as I say, he says that he converted to Catholicism, and whether or not you believe him, we need to look at the fruit of his actions. Now, you got to ask yourself, as I say, why in the non-spinning world is Children's Health Defense aligning with him? So here we've got Bob in the center. This came out back in February, and I did a video about this because I thought it was very strange. Not just the image, and I'm sorry that I did not give you a warning. I don't know if it's vomit worthy. It does make me kind of throw up a little bit looking at these bodies. I don't really mean to assault you with these images, but I want you to take a look at Russell Brand. We're going to be looking and breaking down his deception. And I will give you a warning when we get to that part, because you might not want to watch any further. In this Instagram post, Bob Kennedy says, Northern curly-tailed lizard with Russell Brand and Dr. Oz. So I can only conclude that Bob is calling himself the curly-tailed lizard. And I guess that's supposed to be a funny joke. I know a lot of you follow the reptilians and the reptile theories. So Bob likes reptiles. I'll just put it that way. If you ever browse his Instagram posts, you'll see that he shows a lot of pictures of himself with little reptile creatures. So I thought that was very odd as well. And things get odder still. My file of strange and intentional gestures is growing by leaps and bounds. Now, I'm going to break this down for you in detail tomorrow. This is just a little preview of what's to come. And I want you to make note of the day that I'm filming this video, because it's likely that other people are going to pick up on these gestures and start sharing them on their YouTube channels, which is great. And this is where I watched the video. I took one for the team. I didn't grab this off the internet. I sat through his performance, his very strange performance at the Turning Point event. This was in Oklahoma in October. I'm going to break down, there are more gestures than these. This is just a little sampling. And I'm going to break that down for you. And I'm going to show you others in the MAGA movement, others from Turning Point, that are also making these same gestures. So he also spoke in July. So here are a few more. He's not the only one that does that. He spoke in July here at an event in Tampa, Florida, of all places. And let me give you a little fair warning. I'm going to play just maybe a minute of this broadcast. And I am going to warn you that he is really, and I'm not playing at fast speed. You're going to hear how fast he's speaking. This is a way that some people will try to do a hypnotic induction. They will try to hypnotize, mesmerize, do some sort of mind control. He speaks very quickly. He uses a lot of gestures, and he also uses a lot of confusion, because that is one of the strongest tools of the enemy. So this is after he said that he became Catholic. And as I say, draw your conclusions based on the fruit of his actions. And so if you want to skip this part or turn the sound down or come back in a minute or so, I understand if you don't want to be exposed to it. But I have very savvy and sophisticated, healthy Americans on board here. And you're asking me to continue this coverage because it's one of the greatest swindles and bamboozle of our generation is this whole Charlie Kirk spectacle, as one of my Healthy Americans put it. So I gave you fair warning. We're going to watch just a very short snippet so you'll see how this is some kind of strange, I don't want to say it's a drug-fueled diatribe because I don't have any evidence of that. So let's just listen. He got a question from the audience. And again, this is normal speed. You can see right here. Sometimes I do play it quickly. It's on normal, and we're going to hear his non-answer. She's asking what he thinks about the Bible since becoming, she said, Christian.
Ethne, all right, yeah, reading the Bible as an adult is crazy, particularly if you've consumed a lot of New Age literature and philosophy and you think you're all that and autodidact, super clever, super smart, knowing who thou art continually just through your own mind, ruminating continually. Little bit of Nietzsche is the kind of creature that I used to be back then. Little bit of Sartre make me feel a bit smarter. But the simple truth of the matter is, I read that book, and the same as when I heard His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, the other day talking about his Buddhism, I thought, all of this is in Christ.
I'm just going to let that hang there. I'm just going to let that hang there. You can listen again. You let me know. Is that someone you would like to sit and listen to for any period of time? This is who Turning Point is bringing to speak to their conservative Christians, a vulgar, obscene, aggressive, spouting. I don't even know what he was saying other than he said, basically equated the Dalai Lama with Christ. So there's that. So all of these signs and symbols that he is gesticulating, and here's one here, the bent thumb. You'll see it here many, many, many times, and he's not the only one that does it. And all of these other gestures that he's a part of the club. Now, this gibberish rambling and the intentional gestures, to me, signal that he's in the club. And I don't know exactly what club that is. It's a club that I don't want to be a part of, and I certainly am not a part of. So it's possible he doesn't even really know what club it is. But he is a tool, and he's being used by someone, by whom? The New World Disorder, the Freemasons, the occult, the Jesuits, the Hermeticism, Kabbalah, paganism, Gnostics. Did I mention the Illuminati, the Satanists, witchcraft? It's all Scientology. Did I leave that out? They all borrow from each other. Basically, the initiation into Freemasonry is the same initiation into witchcraft. So I don't really know, but it's a strange mix, probably of all or some of that. But he is a deceiver. That is what I'm taking from this. Deceivers have sold their soul for fame and fortune. And for some, it truly is their religion. To deceive and mock and beguile, which is what the Bible tells us in the garden, beguile and dupe the masses. Now, I have never been a fan of Brand, as I say. I don't follow celebrities. I only look at them to occasionally point out the deceivers and the inverts. All right, here's where I'm going to give you another warning. I'm about to talk about how evil inverts. It inverts right from wrong. I didn't have a chance to do an internet search. Maybe you can send me some images if you find them. If you see Russell Brand or others that are wearing things upside down, they have words spelled backwards. They're wearing clothing backwards. Maybe that's a fad. Possibly it is. Actually, before I go any further, I need to remind everyone that not every single sign and symbol is going to be something that is evil. Let's see here's an example, right? We've got the rainbow flag. Who loves rainbows? Rainbows are beautiful. They were the symbol given by God after the flood. And I understand that many people love this symbol. And I also understand that not every word, symbol, gesture, rainbow flag, clothing, spelling, color, animal, none of those are inherently evil. Russell Brand could be doing all of those gestures innocently, except when you see that he does them intentionally and repeatedly, creating a pattern. It's the intention behind these things that make the difference. It's the pattern, it's the repetition, it's the connection to what it is they're trying to convey. And when they are used sort of too frequently, maybe awkwardly, unnaturally, and that's when we can conclude that they are tells. So yes, many people would associate this rainbow flag with the gay community because they have adopted it as one of their symbols. And all of those cults that I mentioned also have their own symbols and their own tells. So I understand that you may have a rainbow flag, you may love different things, and then I tell you, oh my gosh, they're used this way. Friends, it's the intention behind it. You are smart enough to know the difference. What I want to share with you, and this is where it gets a little troubling for me, is when we're going to talk about how evil loves to invert. You know that. You know that that evil will say right is wrong, good is bad. Well, deceiver is going to deceive. Here we have Russell Brand. And Hollywood also puts together characters. These are performers, friends, actors. All right. I mean, performers have been presenting themselves as other than they are for a long, long time. If you've ever read Shakespeare or know of any Shakespeare plays, men pretended to be women, girls pretended to be boys, and so on and so on. In fact, back in the day, only men were performers and they dressed up like women. And if you look at some of the silent films, you can see so many of those women actually were men. Some could hide it better than others, and others it was very obvious that it was just a man in drag. So I'm not going to break down in this video every single invert in Hollywood. Basically, I go on the default mode that they probably are until I am proven differently. Now, I understand how sensitive this is. And my heart truly goes out to anyone. And I know that I have some in my Healthy American audience who have struggled with the gender dysphoria, I believe it's called. I cannot imagine the struggle and the trauma and how just, I can't even think of the adjectives to describe how difficult that would be to believe that God made a mistake with your body. And I know that there are a couple of Healthy Americans that have even written to me about choices that they made along these lines. And now they are suffering and struggling and have made these very painful choices. So I am in no way minimizing this. Where I draw the line is with the performers who are presenting themselves one way and they are deceiving and they are deceivers as they are doing it. So Hollywood will often put together couples to sell movies or concerts. And, I don't do any of that. I've never really been to a concert. I don't even know other than what people tell me. I don't participate in that, just not interested. You may, that's fine for you. Just look for the signs, the symbols, the clues of where you are being deceived. And this inversion, for some people, they're born into it. They literally were born. And in my previous videos, I told you of an experience I had when I was traveling to Greece. And this was like 30 years ago. And my friend, who is Greek, said, no, I just want to tell you, when we go to this little Greek village, that my cousin is raising her son, Louis, as a little girl. And I'm like, what are you saying? Okay, I was like a young person. And she said, yeah, they had a couple of boys and they didn't have a girl. So they're raising the youngest boy as a girl. And I just didn't want you to be shocked. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be shocked. So a little 5-year-old that they had in dresses with long hair. And friends, I'm sure you could tell as well as I could tell it was a boy, because boys have different energy than little girls and they have a different build. And you're going to see more of a mature male build here on one of these performers. And you're going to see a soft, curvy, feminine female form with curves in all the right places on the other performer. You're going to see one, and keep in mind, these are individuals that are likely on hormones to try to appear more feminine or more masculine, taking on the opposite gender. Now, for some, and the reason I'm bringing it up in this video is because for some, it literally is their religion. When they become or they believe that they have combined the male and the female, that they have somehow transcended just normal human beings. This is a cult. It's an occultic practice. Occultists believe that they derive power from combining the masculine and feminine to become androgynous, basically androgynes. And thereby they are perfect. They are whole. They have transcended the division of masculine and feminine. I know this is weird and it's hard to accept if you've never been exposed to it before. It actually turns my stomach. It is vomit worthy, and I should have warned you to get out the vomit bucket. You can see that Russell Brand has the all-seeing eye on his or her shoulder, and of course the 33 on the wrist. And it's easy to remember, and it's easier to accept when you understand that evildoers insist that bad is good, that right is wrong, that tyranny is freedom, and I guess that tranny is freedom if you spell it differently as well. So there you have it, friends. Now, as I say, this is not to do a deep dive on all of the inverts, but many of you, when I brought up Russell Brand, asked me about this. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now, often they will mock the public by dressing like this. They're cross-dressing. And you may say, Peggy, this is a dude. He's got a hairy chest and a beard. Well, that's what hormones will do for you, friends. And again, this could have started at a very young age. So I want you to draw your own conclusions. I am just sharing with you the deception and how deep that deception goes. Some of you have been mentioning whenever I talk about MAGA and MAHA, that yes, MAGA is the fifth and highest level in the Church of Satan. As I'm saying, friends, and I'm not saying that people who are wearing Make America Great Again and are following Trump, I'm not by any stretch of the imagination equating them with being in the Church of Satan. What I am saying that it is strange that you've got Russell Brand, who is a performer and appears to be a deceiver, being connected with the MAGA movement, with the Children's Health Defense, and as we saw in this very bizarre performance with Turning Point. Tomorrow, I'm going to break this down. I've got several gestures, and I'm going to show you who else in the MAGA and Turning Point tribe do these things as well. Some of them were told what they mean. Others they probably are using for their own hidden meaning. But this is what I mean when I talk about you will know them by their fruit. Let me take a look at what we've got in our chat since we are going live. And I want to thank everyone. Patriot says it's an inversion of light. Mary says the jabs also have endocrine disruptors. Yes. And these people have been doing it for a long, long time. Some people are born into it. It's very sad. I'll give you a quick one that you can do a research on. And this is so absolutely despicable what the parents do to the children. So just an easy one for you to look at. You can look up Cher, Sonny and Cher. And Sonny and Cher's child was raised as a girl. And then we are told, what is the word when they transgender, when they transition to a male? But when you look at that little child on the Sonny and Cher show at about 5 years old, you can clearly see it was a little boy in a dress. It's despicable. It's heinous. It's some kind of sick occultic religion. And I do pray that people will be delivered from it. I hate to even talk about it. There are plenty of channels on YouTube. You can look up NextWex. Drop a comment if you follow any of those channels that expose the inverts. It literally makes me sick to my stomach. I'm talking about right now, I feel like I need to go throw up because it is such an assault on my senses. My own senses know that what I'm seeing is not right. Here or there, oh my gosh, you come across advertisements. Nearly every single ad has an invert in it. I will do a video on that if you want. I've been collecting a lot of images just because I thought one day I could show you that. It is so, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I don't want you to fall prey to that. So there you have it, friends. I have a great deal of just compassion for those who are sincerely struggling. And they're doing it privately or, you know, within their own family and community. They're not going on stage pretending to be who they aren't and then drawing others along in their deception. So there you have it, friends. YouTube got rid of the good exposers. They said, well, there still are a couple. You probably can find them on other channels. Again, I'm aware of what's going on. I see it so clearly that it is so despicable to me. That's why I can't watch movies. I just can't watch movies unless you can show me a movie or a TV show that doesn't have an invert in it. I would like to know if you could find one. And you can go way back to when movies first started, even when they were the silent, I think I called them talkies, but I meant the silent ones. Lots of inverts there. And I know it is so hard for people to accept this because they don't want to admit that they were duped, especially men who had a crush on some of the performers that they then find out were also men. It's like, wow, that was pretty well hidden. Think about it. Makeup and surgery, a lot of plastic surgery, but you can't change the size of your skull and the size of your hands. And a lot of those are giveaways. And there's just a feminine energy that's exuded by some and a masculine energy that's exuded by others. And you just, I mean, it's like evident. It's just evident. And yes, there are plenty of women that work out and lift weights and all that. You know, you can give me every excuse you want. You look at the eyes rarely change the masculine energy and the feminine energy. It's just apparent to those who have eyes to see. All right, friends, I need to stop looking at these images because they're so very horrible to me. And I want to thank everybody for being on board. I will break down these gestures for you tomorrow. I've been doing tons of research on this, a lot of compilation. These are all of my own original images. I did not get anything. I watched these videos and I did the frame grabs. So you saw it here first. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you being on board. And thank you. Thank you. We had Rhonda and Valerie. Really appreciate our moderators and our entire Healthy American audience. Look forward to seeing you in